It's 1973. The air is thick with cigarette smoke and the smell of spilled whiskey. You walk in, and sitting at a table are Alice Cooper, Keith Moon, Ringo Starr, and Harry Nilsson. They aren't writing songs, they aren't planning a tour, they are engaging in a battle of liver endurance so intense they had a plaque made for it. They called themselves the Hollywood Vampires because they only came out at night. 50 years later, that name is back on the marquee, but this time the stakes are different. It's not about who can drink the most brandy, it's about whether a supergroup built on the ghosts of rock's past can still command a stadium stage in 2026. I'm Jake, and today we are tearing into the just-announced Hollywood Vampires 2026 UK and European tour. We're talking dates, the insane support acts, the ticket frenzy, and the dark history that started it all. Joining me to dissect the spectacle is Rachel, a music historian who knows more about 70s rock excess than is probably healthy. Rachel, welcome.
Thanks, Jake. And honestly, excess is the only word that fits. It's fascinating to see how a drinking club for wealthy rock stars evolved into this massive touring machine we're seeing in 2026.
So let's get right to the news that dropped mid-January. It's February 10th now, and the dust is still settling from the announcement. What is the actual status of this tour? Is it happening?
It is absolutely happening. As of mid-January 2026, the band officially confirmed the Hollywood Vampires UK and European Tour 2026. They're hitting the road late this summer, specifically August and September. It's their first run of live shows in about 3 years, so the anticipation has been building for a while.
And this isn't just a couple of club dates, they are hitting some serious venues. I was looking at the list, the O2 in London?
That's the big one to kick it off, yes, August 12th at the O2 in London. But what I love about this itinerary is the mix of standard arenas and these really atmospheric outdoor spots. They're playing Cardiff Castle in Wales, the Scarborough Open Air Theatre, and Colchester Castle Park. Seeing Alice Cooper and Johnny Depp play in the shadow of a medieval castle feels appropriate, doesn't it?
It's on brand for sure. If you're going to be a vampire, you might as well hang out in a castle. Now, I know listeners are going to ask, what about tickets? I saw some chatter online about a pre-sale code Boogeyman floating around back in January. Are we too late?
You're not too late, but you need to move. That pre-sale code Boogeyman was for the artist pre-sale that started January 20th. The general sale opened up on Friday, January 23rd. As of right now, early February, tickets are generally available, but we're seeing low availability warnings for the big arena shows like London and Manchester. Cardiff Castle is expected to be a very hot ticket because of the venue size and the vibe. So if you're thinking about it, don't wait until June.
Okay, noted. But here's the thing that really caught my eye. And frankly, I think it's almost more interesting than the headliners. The support acts. This isn't just some random opening band.
Oh, absolutely not. They've curated this perfectly. For the arena shows, places like London, Glasgow, Manchester, the support is the Jesus and Mary chain, which is a huge get. You've got that noisy, shoegaze post-punk energy opening for a classic rock supergroup. It's a cool contrast.
And for the outdoor shows?
This is where it gets emotional. For the castle and outdoor gigs, Cardiff, Scarborough, Colchester, the support is The Damned. And this is significant because The Damned just released a new covers album, not like everybody else, literally a couple of weeks ago on January 23rd.
Right, I heard about that. That's a tribute record, isn't it?
It is. It's dedicated to their founding guitarist, Brian James, who sadly passed away in March 2025. So you have The Damned, arguably the first UK punk band, touring a tribute album to their fallen founder, opening for the Hollywood Vampires, a band that exists solely to pay tribute to fallen rock stars. The thematic resonance is incredibly heavy.
Let's go back to those roots, because I mentioned the Rainbow Bar and Grill in the intro, but I think people hear drinking club and they think of, I don't know, a frat party. But this was something different. Who were the actual members of this original club?
It was the elite of the elite, but specifically the elite who had a death wish. The core membership, the guys who were there every night in that loft, were Alice Cooper, who was the president, Keith Moon from The Who, who was the vice president, Harry Nilsson, Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees, and Ringo Starr. Just think about that lineup.
It sounds like the setup to a joke. A Beatle, a monkey, and a shock rocker walk into a bar.
But the punchline was usually someone passing out. Alice Cooper has talked about this extensively. He said the initiation to get into the club was that you had to outdrink all the existing members. And remember, you're trying to outdrink Keith Moon. That's not a game. That's a medical emergency waiting to happen.
I read somewhere that John Lennon was an occasional member too.
He was an honorable member. This was during his famous Lost Weekend period in the early 70s when he was separated from Yoko Ono and living in LA with Harry Nilsson. So when Lennon was in town, he was there. They even had a plaque on the wall at the Rainbow that said, "The Lair of the Hollywood Vampires."
It feels almost mythic now. But there's a darkness to it, right? Because they weren't just having fun. A lot of those guys didn't make it.
That's the tragedy of it. As Alice Cooper puts it, it was a last man standing club. And Alice realized he was going to die if he stayed. He got sober. But Keith Moon didn't. Harry Nilsson struggled immensely. The band Hollywood Vampires that tours now, Alice, Johnny Depp, Joe Perry, they play songs by those dead drunk friends. They cover The Who for Keith. They cover Lennon. It's a musical memorial service disguised as a stadium rock show.
Which brings us back to 2026. You've got Alice Cooper, who is approaching 80? Still out there, Joe Perry from Aerosmith, and Johnny Depp. We have to address the elephant in the room, or maybe the pirate in the room. Johnny Depp, this tour follows a pretty turbulent few years for him. How does he fit into this musically? Is he actually contributing, or is he just there to sell tickets?
It's a valid question, and it's the main criticism the band usually faces. But here's the thing. Depp isn't a novice. He came to LA originally to be a guitarist, not an actor. On stage, he holds his own. He's not Joe Perry. Nobody is Joe Perry. But he provides this gritty rhythm guitar layer that works for the garage rock sound they go for. And frankly, after his legal battles and the media circus a few years ago, the stage seems to be the one place where he feels comfortable.
And your fans seem to respond to that. The crowds aren't shrinking.
No. If anything, they're growing. And I think part of that is the set list. They aren't trying to force an album of new experimental material on you. They play Schools Out. They play Walk This Way. They play Heroes by Bowie. It's high-energy nostalgia. But with the Jesus and the Mary Chain and the Damned on the bill this year, I think they're trying to signal that they still have some edge. It's not just a classic rock jukebox. It's a celebration of rock rebellion.
I want to pivot to the technical side for a second. We talk about this being a supergroup, but that term gets thrown around a lot. Musically, how does this actually work? You've got 3 alphas on stage. Does it sound cohesive?
Surprisingly, yes. And a lot of that credit goes to Tommy Henriksen. He's the 4th member people forget. He's a guitarist and musical director for Alice Cooper's solo band, too. He's the glue. He anchors the sound so Depp and Perry can trade licks without it turning into a train wreck. And then you have the rhythm section. In previous tours, they had Glenn Sobel on drums and Chris Wise on bass. If that lineup holds for 2026, that's a rock-solid foundation. They allow Cooper to be the ringmaster.
It's interesting you mentioned Cooper as the ringmaster because that's really his genius, isn't it? He can take this dark, depressing history of alcoholism and death and turn it into this fun theatrical cabaret.
He separates the art from the artist or the character from the man better than anyone. He can sing Dead Drunk Friends and make it sound like a party anthem, even though the lyrics are literally about watching his friends die of addiction. It's a very specific kind of Hollywood magic. It's grim, but it's glitzy.
So looking at this 2026 tour, is this the end? I saw some search results and rumors asking if this is the last tour ever. Is there any validity to that?
There's no official farewell branding on this tour, which is usually the tell. If promoters can slap the final tour on a poster, they'll charge double for that. They haven't done that here. However, look at the ages. Alice Cooper's in his late 70s, Joe Perry is in his mid-70s. They aren't going to be doing this forever. I wouldn't call it the definitive end, but every time these guys go out now, you have to treat it like it might be the last time.
That's a good rule of thumb for any band from that era. So, for the listener who is on the fence, maybe they live near Scarborough or they're looking at that London date, what's the verdict? Is this a cash grab or is it a show worth seeing?
If you go in expecting a life-changing musical innovation, you'll be disappointed. But if you go in wanting to see legitimate legends paying respect to the history of rock and roll with a production value that is through the roof, it's absolutely worth it. And honestly, just seeing the Damned opening for them at a castle, that alone is worth the ticket price. It's a history lesson with pyrotechnics.
A history lesson with pyrotechnics. I think that's the perfect way to wrap this up. Whether you're there for the Ghosts of 1973 or just to see Johnny Depp play guitar, it sounds like August 2026 is going to be loud.
Very loud, and hopefully a little less destructive than the original drinking club.
We can hope. Rachel, thank you for walking us through the madness.
Anytime, Jake.
And to everyone listening, if you snag tickets to the Cardiff Castle show, send us a picture. We want to see if the vampires actually show up. Share this episode with that friend who still wears their vintage Alice Cooper t-shirt. They're going to want to hear this.